Record. Cool. Awesome. Thanks again, Nancy, for being on this morning.
You're welcome. It's my
We have
pleasure.
quite a few new people I woke up to this morning too, who are joining. Lots of East Coasts. I think I gotta get an email out and approve everything. So it's funny how some people, I woke up to another email this morning. There's a lot of I don't know how to, and I'm not saying there's a way around it. It's just a lot of people, when they first join us, they like if there's any hiccups in the process, they're so nervous about joining us in the first place because there's so many failed past attempts that they really, sometimes the brain really thinks that I'm here to screw people over. It's part of the process. I get it. And I wanted to make sure I took care of those real early this morning. So everyone,
You know what? I think they're looking for, they're waiting for that other shoe to drop. They're like okay, I'll try this. Let me try this. And that TRY word, which is a horrible word to begin with. Wait, I gotta switch my camera here. And yeah, so you're waiting. You're very apprehensive. You're waiting for, I knew this wasn't going to work. I knew this was just another program. I knew it, and it's not. It is absolutely not just another program. It is not just another program. And I think the missing link, there are a couple, and you let me know if you want to ask me a question, go for it. But there are some missing links in programs. To me, the biggest missing link in programs is support. And usually people will take your dollars, throw you in to the pool, and then you never hear from them again. That's it. Go support each other. So now what we've done is we've taken this big pool of all people who don't have their questions answered, but we've taken the link out that could answer it. And you do not do that with this program. You are hands-on, you are right there 100%, and your answers are very different. Then they're not the average answers. So if anyone is listening here and she answers your question with a question, number one, because she's good for that. But no, you have such a massively different perspective on this. I mean, I'm certified in mindful eating, and yet I couldn't do it by myself. Doesn't that tell you a lot right there?
You can do it by yourself. You have done it by yourself. You were just at this new phase that was new. So it's for those of you listening in, you can, these unspoken phases, I don't think I've ever put them in, but I was just telling Nancy before we jumped on, it's like in very, very early times, and Nancy and I have both been through this too, in very early times, there's a massive struggle, and there's lots of time and energy wasted with up and downs of all of the diets. And sometimes we fall, some of us, about half of us here, which is why Lori is here, some of us are emotional eaters and some of us are not. There's two categories here. And then later in life, we find, which is what most people are here for, there's sometimes we're so hard set on trying to change and control and manipulate what is instead of accept what is. And the sucky yet wonderful part of this process is before the change that you are moving into right now can happen, there has to be this radical acceptance for what is. And then now Nancy's at this place where, I mean, you can certainly share what you're doing now. Now you're able to take on what seems like an all-in effort, but it was required of you in the first place. But now you're hearing and seeing it differently.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that. And I think most people, you know, human beings function on success, although we focus on failure, right? So, yeah, so when you have, yes. So when you have that, your stepping stones are genius, because they're little stepping stones of success. And so when you have these little steps of success that kind of build on each other, then you find yourself more confident and more empowered to do what you know you have to do to begin with. And to not do it all or nothing. I cannot tell you, that was my big thing. That's my personality. I'm going to get in there and I am going to, I'm going to plow my way through this. That's right. We're going to do this. And the truth of the matter is, that's a very defeatist attitude. And when you go into that with a defeatist attitude, what are you doing? You're just looking for that other shoe to fall. You're not looking at the stepping stones of success. You're looking instead at those defeats that you've had in the past. And that's what you pull off from when you have to change your thinking. Because if you don't change your thinking, nothing's going to be any different about this program than any other program. You have to be willing to change your thinking in order to change the choices that you're making. And then just, that's what empowers you. Is these stepping stones are genius. They're key. And every stepping stone is different for every person. I love that too. My stepping stones were not the same for whoever else is listening to this. Your stepping stones are going to be different. They're going to be based on conversations that you've had with Maya, or they're going to be based on what you already know about yourself. Maybe you're at that third phase, but you just need someone to say, you either need someone to hold your hand or slap your bed. I mean, really.
Hold your hand or what?
Slap you a bit. Just a little, just gentle.
Sometimes I feel like Lori's the hand holder and I'm the slapper.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I needed somebody who was going to be real with me.
Yeah.
Not somebody who was I didn't need the hand holding, you can do this. I needed why aren't you? Let's look at why you aren't.
Right.
And so that's where you definitely came into that for sure.
I wonder if, and maybe you can extrapolate, it's not something I talk about often, but I definitely see it in a lot of us. And I wonder if a lot of us are this way, but you mentioned this, and I see it in you because it's in me too, is we're very much like, you have the attitude of just suiting up and getting shit done. And when you have that and you go into this with years of this failure, it's in the back of your mind, it kind of chips away at this, and then building that sense of credibility through those stepping stones, which builds, it confirms self-worth, and then starts building confidence, et cetera, and so on. But it seems to be a trait with a lot of us is we get done what we need to get done.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too, because, people just really have to understand that if you gained weight, lost weight, there's nothing, I don't think, inherently wrong with that. We're human beings. Our bodies are going to do that. It's when we do it in excess that it's a problem.
Right.
But you need to understand that any diet you've been on in the past has failed you. You have not failed it. Every diet, you learned something. If you think back on it, you've learned something in every diet you've placed yourself on. So now it's important to not look at that as failure, but instead pull it all together so that this event of getting your healthiest, strongest body, not just the weight number that you want, but you're getting your healthiest, strongest body. This is the point where you're going to just pull it all together and create that program that is specifically meant for your body.
Yeah. It's, I can't stress how important that is. It's you've collected years of data and years of data and years of samples to be able to pull it together to answer the question of not what's right, but what's right for me.
Yeah.
And we have to go through that process in order to do it. And the mind, I just sent an email out about this, but one of the foundational thought patterns that I've had to change along this journey very much is, and we're taught this way, but a faulty sense of morality that can be very harmful, meaning like this was right and this was wrong, and this is how it should be, and this is bad and this is good. And that's where some of too much information comes in. But when you don't know when you adopt the mindset that you don't know what anything means or what anything is for, it's easier to flow with your process and accept your process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And again, that gets back to the all or nothing mentality, and also what I call the bling mentality. If, okay, well, Weight Watchers worked for a day, but I really don't like Weight Watchers. So, oh, look, this looks like a good program. Let me go here. Wait, no, I'll do that for a week. No, wait, that looks better. Well, maybe I should be counting carbs. No, maybe I should be counting protein. I mean, we get ourselves into such a frenzy of confusion. How can anything get accomplished if you're not focused on doing one thing step by step, as your stepping stones teach, step by step, you're going to learn this. It's not an overnight process. You're not going to, you might not even lose weight your first week. Then again, you might. Your DNA is different from everyone else's. But that's where your program is so amazing, Maya, is that you're going to go, even if it is a group, you follow these things and you jump on there and go, but wait a minute, let's look at this. Let me ask you this question. And to me, that's such valuable information, because we individually are taking and reaping from what we need to. We are growing and learning from what you are teaching. And that's what sets this apart. I mean, I know there are programs that have coaching, there are programs that have all this, and I get that. Listen, I've had weight loss coaches. I have paid thousands of dollars through the years for weight loss coaching.
Me
and
too.
yet, here I sit.
Yeah.
So
And I definitely want to stress, and you couldn't, I want to ask you a question in terms of your change. I want to point out a certain, it's maybe just a belief I have, but it's, we are all our own teacher, and it's very much, we have to learn how to learn from ourselves.
yes.
And I think in order to learn how to learn from ourselves, so we have to break our brain a little bit, about what we thought was right and wrong, kind of thing. And that's what, those questions that you speak of just kind of challenge, like, well, wait a minute, is that really true? Or can we really, so what moved you? So you did this quickly and you were there. I felt it and heard it from you when I first met you, but what moved you into, we started some stepping stones, and tell me about the process that you went through of self-examination. Like, where did you start versus right now you're in this phase where you're fully ready and accepted to have, I mean, you're down to 3 pounds and taking on the things that you need to take on. But where did you start, and what changes internally had to happen for you to get to where you are at now, which just happened in a matter of weeks?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just maybe a 30-second background on myself was that last fall, I'm 68, and last fall I found myself having some massive back issues, to a point where I was having trouble going from here to the mailbox. Now, I was an exercise instructor and taught exercise classes for 35 years. So I'm not an inactive person by nature. I love Pilates. I love yoga. I love to walk. I love to do those things. Okay, I couldn't even go to my mailbox. And so I went to a personal friend of mine who's actually been my chiropractor for many years. And we put me under a tremendous program for 3 months. And we did that. And it improves a little bit, but not enough that I could retain or go back to my normal activities. And so I went to my primary care physician, because it was just time. I was waking up with massive back spasms. I was in incredible pain all the time. And so she said to me, well, I'm going to put you in physical therapy for 8 weeks. And if that doesn't work, then we'll do a CAT scan and MRI. And I said, sure, fine. I really did not have a good attitude about it. But in the meantime, I saw a doctor that had done a lot of blood work, and I realized that my body was massively inflamed inside. And I shared my blood work actually with you. And we agreed that, well, we didn't really know, was this chronic back pain causing the inflammation, or was the inflammation causing the chronic back pain? We were really not sure. And so I started in with this physical therapist who was truly a blessing for me, because I've been to physical therapists through the years, and whatever. This guy was an angel, and I continue to see him. We'll continue for another 2 weeks. But here's what he said to me when I told him I'd lost 3.5 pounds. He goes, Nancy, that's 3.5 pounds of inflammation. Okay, so I had to have those small little successes because when you're in chronic pain, which I'd never been in my entire lifetime, when you're in chronic pain, your mind does not filter through. When somebody says to you, well, I think if we do X, Y, and Z, you're going to go, been there, done that, have that t-shirt. And in a way, that's kind of what I did with you, even in that first week, because I was waiting and looking for that other shoe to fall. Like, I've already done all this. Why am I wasting my money and my time? I had a very negative attitude about it. But I'm not a negative attitude person by nature, but it was from the pain, number one, and it was from not wanting to carry this extra weight, because I knew, listen, every pound that you carry is an extra 5 pounds on your joints. That includes your spine. I knew that. I have a background in this, and yet, I needed a bowl of chips at night. So I had to figure out, what in the world could I do to make this shift without it feeling like I was going to have to sacrifice, or that other word that I can't think of. I was going to have to sacrifice what I loved. And I'll tell you that when you get in your 60s, you're done with that. I've raised my kids, my grandchildren are grown. And I just was at a stage where I was like, well, I've done all that, right? So now I have 40 pounds to lose. It's no secret. But I don't really want to do it because I've already done all that other stuff. It should just come off. I should just get up in the morning and look at myself and go, whoa, you're 3 sizes smaller. This is what you get for exercising for 35 years. Okay, well, enter reality. And that was my back pain. And I realized that in the course of my studying, because to know me is to know I dig into things deep, that inflammation is a marker of how you live your life. So if you at this stage in your life, and of course, all my friends are, if you're a person who's riddled with arthritis, you can't get out of your chair, whatever, I want to ask you, what are you eating? What are you feeding the cells in your body? Because guess what? If you're feeding them potato chips like I was, your body is going to go, okay, that's fine, but you're not going to be able to walk to the mailbox. But that's the sacrifice you're going to pay. And so when I saw your ad on Facebook, and I have always been such a supporter of mindful eating, because mindful eating is the choices we make. And I want the rest of my life to never diet again. I want to do what's healthy for me, but I don't want to do it in the form of dieting. And so I don't look at it as dieting anymore. And I think that was one of the biggest mind shifts that I had, was I'm not dieting. I am just feeding my body so it will do what I want it to do. So that's kind of the long answer. I hope I even answered. I don't remember what the question was now, but
fantastic. You're correct, because the actions that you're taking now may or may not have looked differently, but the difference is that you have different lenses on now. Because what we believe to be true about ourselves and our world are the lenses we wear, and we have a million of these that we wear, right? And so I totally get it. I remember planning way back in my teenage years when I was on the diet. When I woke up in the morning, there was this deep sense of like dread. I got to do this again. And by nighttime, I said, screw it all. But the same actions can be taken when there's different lenses on.
And part of it is part of it's the programming that you've had too, coming up as a child, coming up even as an adult. I mean, my program, I'm from a French family. We lived on French bread and maple syrup. I was originally from New England. And my mother's sisters, I mean, so amazing and so loving, but they were all very overweight and thought that the answer was to have, back then, an experimental gastric bypass surgery.
Yeah.
And so one died on the table at 42 years old, leaving her husband with 3 small children who adored her at the weight she was at. She just didn't.
Mm.
And then 2 others that have had it and have had it multiple times and have lost and gained. And then a cousin who passed away at 700 pounds. And so for me, I actually had to go into therapy to get someone to give me a different perspective on body image. Because girl, I just looked at myself and I saw all of this French goodness coming at me, you know, and I thought, I'm not even going to live up to my legacy unless I'm overweight.
Yeah.
And it's just so not true.
These, the changes that you've made, you could not have made in your thinking unless you started down the path of action again.
That is correct. That is absolutely, yeah.
And that's the most terrifying step.
Yeah.
Because now you're battling the, whatever you want to call it in your head. I used to call it the junkie, but whatever in your head that is, you know, that it's a strong, like, this is it, you're going to do it again, you're going to fail, there's going to be all this, that is the first like hurdle to get over. Like, there's a sense of, okay, I realize the problem is my thinking. And then you had the getting over the hurdle of, okay, let's do this again. But yeah, I wanted to make mention too, you had, there's a few people in my life with chronic pain and some clients too, and you're naturally vibrant and I'm going to say spunky is kind of the right word, but you exude, I've told you that before, you exude positivity and smiles to everyone around you. And when you're in chronic pain like that, you're quite literally in the fight or flight mode. You're in the stress response. And when we're in the stress response, we go back to primordial brain and thinking. And I mean, what does brain want? Brain wants to stay alive. It wants food and it wants to procreate. So at that point, the negative thinking, you know, we're biased. The brain is biased towards negative thinking because it needs to stay alive. So it can't mistake, say, a garden or a hose for a garden snake. It has to make sure like that's actually, so it's always going to look for the negative. So we're wired that way. And especially when we're in stress or fight or flight, it's even harder to see that. So another piece of what you did and had to do to get to where you're at in a very short period of time, I want to stress again, is the understanding that, okay, I have these thoughts, and I have these emotions, and just as Ken had mentioned in his photos the other day, but I'm experiencing these, I'm not these.
Exactly.
And then you were able to separate. And
well, and if you've ever watched, of course, I have been self-employed for many, many years. So I follow people like Tony Robbins and I mean, these self-improvement gurus all the time. But I have actually physically seen Tony Robbins take a person who was super depressed, suicidal even, and within 10 minutes had them completely turned around and changing their minds. You don't have to take years and years and years to do this. It is just a matter, a desire to want to make the change. And then you never go back to the evil thoughts that you were having about yourself. You just never not. I mean, that's the reason why, I mean, I'm in an industry that I'm in skincare and cosmetics, and I love that industry because it helps women to feel better about themselves. And I'll tell you, I hear it all the time where we'll do a virtual makeover and they're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I could never wear that, or I could never do that. And then you put it on them and they're like, whoa. And they never go back to what they were doing before. It's a matter of confidence, and it's a matter of choosing to never shift back into that space where you are thinking crappy shot, that they're just crappy thoughts about yourself. Really, we don't even allow our kids to talk to us the way we talk to ourselves, right? And so I think we just have to come to this new place of knowing. Actually, I was talking with a girlfriend this morning and we were talking about this very thing. I said, we are so magnificently made. Every cell in our body, and my DNA is different than yours, and your DNA is different from mine. And we have likes and dislikes that are different from each other. But the one thing that is true, the common bond that we have for each other is that we are human beings. and that we get to make these choices. Other people have taken our choices from us. When I think back to where I was even just a few years ago in my weight loss journey, and even in my self-esteem and confidence journey, I can tell you, I could look back into a loving and wonderful family. There's not one thing I could say ill about them, but the programming that I picked up from them concerning losing weight, concerning body image, concerning dieting was only what they knew. And that was my programming. So I get to change that programming. Here's the most powerful thought I have had. Probably it happened sometime this year, and that was this. We all talk about what legacy do we want to leave? Do we want to leave a financial legacy? Do we want? I have two beautiful daughters, two amazing sons-in-law. I have 6 fabulous grandchildren, 3 girls, 3 boys. And my legacy to them is very simple. It's just, please never stop working on yourself. Because just because you have a limiting belief, that's exactly what it's doing. It's limiting you. There are no limits, none, 0. If you want that, you work toward it and you go for it. Mm-hmm. And it's been so fun to see my adult grandchildren say this back to me. That's my legacy. If I die right now today, they may not get $1 million. Nope, you're not getting $1 million.
But you will have the thinking that will get you there.
That is right. That is exactly right. And that to me is the most powerful legacy you can leave. Even if you don't have children, it's what you leave for the cashier at the grocery store. It's what you leave for the woman at Walmart. It's what you're leaving behind. You never know when that last breath happens. And what are you leaving behind? And that I realized that was going to be my legacy for my little family of people. I should have included my husband in that, but not really sure why I didn't, because I'm always telling him how wonderful I am. But
Nancy, I can't tell you how you've left me speechless. I've never looked at it that way in the importance of it. I had this week, I had a client, he's very overweight. He's very all or nothing. He has diabetes, and the diabetes is so bad. He went out to eat at a restaurant and had a piece of key lime pie and couldn't drive home because his vision got blurry because the blood sugars were so high. And when we dug enough, we understood that he knows he has to work out in order to lose the weight. And beliefs are powerful things. So if we can harness that, we will. But the thing that was stopping him from losing weight was that he felt guilty taking time away from his kids and his wife. And it was very deep and very real. And the point being is this legacy you talk about leaving, and this goes so far beyond us, is leaving our next generation with a legacy of how to think. Yes. I mean, I wasn't raised with the right pattern of thinking, so I don't think any of us were. And it's changing that mindset and mentality and then passing that on. Then they are limitless because they have the right foundation on how. Yeah,
that is correct. And that understanding that, life is not fair. I mean, I tell my family that all the time. My grandkids have had some rough times, and I just tell them, life is not fair. So if you're thinking that this has only ever happened to you, it hasn't. It's happened to millions of people, and they've gotten through it. So here's what you do. You show people what you're made of in your toughest times. And that story of that gentleman that you just talked about really brought tears to my eyes. It's so heartbreaking to me because I lived that. I lived that with my family, and from what an amazing family I have. I could not have had more love. But they were training up their children in a better way than they were trained, right? Mm-hmm. And so the best legacy is evolution. So my grandchildren, my children, my husband, if I die today, they will understand that, if they're doing something in my honor, don't plant a tree. Go plant your heart to somebody else. Go show something wonderful to somebody, and then plant the tree, because I do love trees. But yeah, so I think it's again, it's a choice, it's a mind shift, and I just want anyone that listens to this to know that you're just so worth the journey and those new choices that you may have to make, and that you're leaving a legacy and showing an example to your family that no one else has the power to show them but you. As a parent, you have kids and you're the parent, shoot. I mean, you show them something bad, they're going to remember it. You show them something good, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way raising. Yeah, I know, right?
It makes it, this is sometimes is a tough pill to swallow, and I'm sorry if this triggers some people. It's true. It just is. When we get stuck in our own thoughts and emotions, we make this about ourselves. And the problem is that it's not about us.
That's right.
This is bigger than us. And if we
That's right.
stay where we're at, it's very selfish, and we are making it about ourselves.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. We're not even here to live for ourselves. I mean, we're here to be the best we can be. And that's what I was telling my friend this morning. Listen, we have cells in our body that are meant to be shifted. We have DNA in our body that we are not genetically prone to anything except for this. Now, I shouldn't say anything, because there are some diseases that are genetically, will bring themselves because of genetics. But 90% of what we suffer through, especially women in our 50s, 60s, 70s on up, are genetically habits that we've had. They're habitual genetics is what I like to call it, habitual genetics. And so it's like, I'm going to eat this because this is what I was raised with.
Yep. Really?
Is that the best thing for you right now at this stage in your life? Probably not. And I do want to say this though, too. In my all-out effort to never be all or nothing, which is something I have to remind myself every day. I also remind myself, you know what, if I want that bowl of chips, I can have it. There might be a healthier version of it, or maybe I don't even want the healthy version, but 90% of the time I am eating healthy and doing what's best for my body. I am not going to not do those things or eat those foods because for the rest of my life. But I am 90% of the time going to nourish what I have. Yes. And then 10% I can play.
And this, you have some thoughts and questions popping in. So guys, if you're watching this, Robin, Sue, Lori, and Susan, I see your questions. We'll get to them in a second. And you're seeing that through, like, quite literally, you have put on new lenses or shifted your perspective and how you think about it, which is why you can look at this plain situation very differently, but also believe it to be your truth.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've always been a 90-10 thinker anyway. I mean, I think in anything you do, when my husband and I were in our younger years, he decided he was going to be a runner. I hate running. Detest it. If I ever put on another pair of running shoes, it's just because they're cute. It has nothing to do with me getting out the door. I hate to run. And yet I did it with him because he was doing it and I wanted his approval. This was in our 20s. I mean, I've been married to him for 48 years now. I'm like, oh, well, go running. But I think you've got to understand that, 90% of the time I'm going to exercise in a form that I really appreciate exercise in. And that's going to be different for me than it is for you, than it is for anyone listening. For me, I love Pilates and yoga. I don't love yoga in the form of, I just love some of the moves in yoga. I don't like a full yoga class because I talk too much. I can't be in a yoga class. It's too quiet.
You know this about yourself, right?
I know this about myself only too well.
Right. Yeah. And it's not having the working through the all or nothing mindset allows you to honor what is about yourself instead of seeing it as like, no, I need to work through this or I need to be better. It's just, this is how I operate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you don't mind, maybe I'll interject some of these.
I'm not seeing any of the questions.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I popped open Facebook too. So I know, Sue, you have a question. Robin says, thank you, Nancy. I'm 64 and really have been feeling this as well. My mindset my mindset is discouragement and beating myself up because I know better but don't care. The body pain is real, and the inflammation part was so true. I'm newly single and think no one will love me if I look like this. So much about mindset and attitude. It's daunting.
Oh, Robin, wow. Yeah, I just want to hug you, oh, I mean, honestly, it just it tears me up, seriously, because um, I deal with women like this all the time, that they're so down on themselves. And here you are, you've lived on this earth for, she say 62 or 64, 64 years you've been here on this earth. 64 years, every day for 64 years, you have touched someone's life. It might be someone at the Walmart. It might be someone in your family. It might be, and yet here we are looking at ourselves in the mirror going, I don't even feel like I'm worthy. Girl, you are so freaking worthy. You are. So you've just got to get in front of that mirror, and you've got to tell yourself over and over and over and over and over again, because that's the only way you can make a shift in that thought process. Right now, your thought is, I'm not worthy. That's just stinking thinking. It really is. And it probably comes, by the way, from massive amounts of programming through the years. I'm not saying that, I am not saying that this is a bad thought that you're having. I'm saying it's a thought that's not serving you.
Yeah.
It's just not giving you what you want. You want joy, you want happiness, you want love. And you said you wanted love. Who's going to love you if you're not even loving yourself? Here's what you're going to be attracted to. You're going to be attracted to some guy who doesn't even love himself. So now you're going to have two people that don't love each other, total toxic relationship. So I'm just going to encourage you to really form that bond with yourself. Form it like you would form with a newborn baby. You would never look at a newborn baby and go, oh my God. Well, actually, I did with my second daughter. But normally you would, it's a big joke in my family. She was supposed to be a boy. She wasn't. She was supposed to be 6 pounds. She was 10. But anyway, and she was not a pretty baby, and she was not a good baby. And I did not like her. She's 44 now. We're best friends, and I think she's adorable. But that being said, most newborn babies, you're going to look at them and go, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is such love. And the truth of the matter is, we don't do that with ourselves. So we do just the total opposite. So that's what needs to be worked on, right? Because those are not things that happen overnight. Although Tony Robbins will tell you it's just a choice of thoughts. And the bad thoughts will keep coming back, and they'll keep coming back, and you're going to keep kicking them out, and you're going to keep kicking them out. You have to for your own well-being in your own life. So know that we love you. We think you're beautiful, and I haven't even seen you yet.
She's been committed to her journey from what I know about you, Robin, and I'm proud of you for that. And to add on to Nancy, it's important we're going to have a clarity session soon on negative thinking and stress. And it's very much like here in this group, there's knowledge versus realization and integration. And the place that Nancy's talking to you about, and all of you are here, like my hope is that you use this new ARIA methodology for an understanding and a framework to quite literally understand your own life, to learn how to learn from yourself. That's the key here. And so you have this knowledge of what Nancy talked about, is this foundation of let's call it not good enoughness and unworth. And from that foundation, or lenses that I've talked about, our everyday thinking blossoms, and then our everyday emotions blossom, and then our everyday behaviors blossom, and then we get our life circumstance. So you've heard this several times before, and from this framework, you can start to plug in and understand, okay, what am I choosing that I don't want to be choosing? It's not what am I choosing wrongly, because that's not right. I sent out an email about it. Life is just an appetizer platter. So you're tasting and saying, oh, I like that and I don't like that. And sometimes with negative thoughts, I joke, it's kind of like, well, if you stop putting candy bars into your mouth, you can't stop. If you're still thinking candy bar thoughts, you can't expect weight loss or whatever that is. So if life is just this appetizer platter, and ooh, you like the olives, but you don't like the pate, you know, a sense of self-worth or lack of worth, or believing that we are not worthy is just like ordering more of what you don't like and continuing to choose it. And we have a brain inside of our head that has 50 to 70,000 thoughts. Um, the most, one of the biggest foundational shifts you could experience in your life is that you are not your thoughts. When you create that space, which I'll teach you how in the next clarity session, but when you create that space to understand that, okay, I can choose these thoughts. And it's when you have those lenses of not worthy kind of playing in the background as your foundation, it's easy to become them and think that that's actually true. So Nancy had shared with you truth, her truth, which I think collectively we can share that here. And she's absolutely right. It's all a choice, and we can choose. And that's really sucky to hear sometimes, because while we can choose our success, we can also choose failure. And that's a big part of this journey. Robin says, thank you. Sue has a question for you. She says, how do you determine where you should start with your stepping stones? Well, I guess it's for the both of us.
Yeah. My first stepping stone was really little. I mean, I remember emailing, you had messaged me to see how I was doing. And I remember emailing back to you going, well, I think I really have a bit of a setback. It was like a Friday. I said, you know, maybe I'm thinking maybe I'll just do this on Monday. And because I was looking at it like, in my case, in my body, in my DNA, carbs do not filter well with me. But in my history, I mean, being raised the way I was raised more on carbs and less on anything else. And so I said, you know, I'll just wait till Monday, and then I'll just start it all on Monday. And and Maya came back and she said, how about if you just choose one meal every day that would be a protein and a vegetable, just one. That was my first stepping stone. And I even thought at that point, okay, I'll do that on Monday. And then Maya came back and said, I'd like to, you know, if you don't mind, why don't we try it over the weekend? And I'm like, she's not going to let down. She is like a dog with a bone. I'm going to have to just make her happy and do this. But here's what I learned over that Saturday and Sunday. It really was not that big of an issue. And I ended up doing 2 to 3 meals like that, honestly, because I realized really it's my preferential way to eat anyway, because the carb load that I was eating was just making me feel tired and luggy. And so I immediately noticed how much better I felt, which is something I would encourage everyone to do. Whenever you eat something, ask yourself how you feel afterwards, because that food's talking to you. If it's taking a long time to digest, then it's not a good food for you. So, so I realized that. And so that stepping stone to me was really major. I tried to find my second stepping stone and I couldn't find it, but I know we did it. I know we had a second stepping stone, and I honestly could not remember. I think we went then to
you had you had something fantastic that happened actually. You had, which is what I want everyone to do. And Sue, I don't know, I'd have to look it up to see if you're in the next step in the process is the Stepping Stone mini program. It's called the How to Start Again Without Failing Again. And it's $40. And if you can't afford it, just
I do have that. Yeah.
So really, like in Nancy's situation, you want to ask yourself, like, there's a brain dump, and it's going to teach you how to do the brain dump. Is what are the things I know I should be, could be, ought to be, want to be doing for my weight loss that I'm not currently doing. And Nancy, of course, came back with this low carb. Because I'm with you one-to-one, that it's easier. You always want to run it through a checklist, right? I'm not saying that everything on that brain dump is real and true, because we want to ask the question, which is why everyone has that, should I lower my carbs for weight loss? Because not everyone has to. So if
Right.
that belief was in her head, then I went back to the blood work to understand, wait a minute, do we actually need to do this for weight loss? And based upon, you already mentioned it, so it's not a surprise, but based upon the inflammatory factors and some other factors in the blood work, it is actually necessary. For some of us, it's not. So we always want to ask that question of like, wait, do I think what I need to do for my weight loss is actually like, is that real and true? Or did I pick it up on a magazine cover someplace and just believe it's true? So the next thing that has to happen is Nancy had said, okay, well, lower my carbohydrates. So obviously all or nothing would say, go all in, let's do it all. And then that didn't happen, and it was wonderful. It was a perfect place. I honestly, and it was, I don't think I ever told you that, Nancy, but I was hoping you failed. And it was because I wanted you to move quickly, right? And so it seems weird, but I was hoping you failed because I wanted you to move more quickly. And so came back, didn't do it. Then we said, okay, let's just do one meal. And then obviously the question of when you set a stepping stone, I need two things for you to happen. I need one for you to set a stepping stone, have this successfully complete that stepping stone, acknowledge it as a win and start that path. And then I need you to take a stepping stone, fail at the stepping stone, and start the self-examination process to understand. That's when you understand your thinking better. That's why we have to take action in order to dive into more about how you're wired to start thinking differently. Again, it's not therapy. I'm not here to open the box. I think by the time we get here, it's time to just close the box, put a bow on it, and set it on its way. So I don't think, to your point, I don't think we had another stepping stone because you took that first stepping stone, failed at it beautifully, successfully, and then we were able to self-examine, course correct. And that brought you to that place very quickly out of phase 2 and into this phase 3 where you're like, you know what, I'm going to stop fooling around. This is what I need to do. And you were just ready to make that choice. And not everyone's ready to, some people need to work those stepping stones consistently through that process and start building the credibility with self in order to move into the phase 3 you're in.
I think too, I mean, I've had years of training on this as well, just to clarify why mine was so quick. Mine really hasn't been quick. It's been more of a 40-year journey, honestly. So it's not that it was quick. It was just, I love the quote, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And so in my case, Maya just appeared. Had never seen her, didn't know her, didn't know anything about her, but my instincts told me that I should look into this. So listen to your instincts, number one. And number two, be patient with yourself. It's, this is a journey. This is a learning process, even more so than a journey. I think the word journey is really kind of overused sometimes. This is more of a learning process. What do you want ultimately? What's your ultimate goal in life? What do you ultimately want your body to look like? For me, my goals in my 20s was just to have, okay, so Robin can relate to this. My goal in my 20s was to be able to put on a leotard and tights and stand in front of a class and teach, because it was the Jane Fonda days, right? And I did that in my 20s, and I did it in my 30s. And then my goals shifted in my 40s. And when in my 50s really shifted, because when your metabolism starts slowing down, and my body was so used to all this exercise that even though I was at that time teaching 7 and 8 classes a week, I had to eat for 7 and 8 classes, and I wasn't always eating the right thing. So I started to put on weight. So my goals now, where they used to be that I wanted to fit into beautiful clothing, or I wanted to, walk through space in an elegant way. Now I just want to walk. And now I just really want to have the strongest, healthiest body that I can have. And yes, still, I mean, I am a clothes hog. I do love clothes. So yes, to being able to wear things that maybe I haven't been able to wear in the past, definitely to that. But it's really more about shifting into that strength that we have. And as women, because we're bombarded with media that shows the beautiful face with no wrinkles and the size 2, and I'm not saying don't be a size 2. If that's what you want, go for it. But I am saying go for it for the right reasons. And so in my case, at 68 again, sure, I can get down to it. I mean, the lowest I've ever been, I'm 5'7", so the lowest I've ever been is probably a size 10. I can do that. But you know what? If I don't like the way I look at size 10 at 68, I don't mind going to a size 12, because the number isn't going to define me. What's going to define me is how I feel. How am I walking? How am I moving? How am I bending? How am I picking things up? Because when you reach this stage in your life, it's all about fighting against muscles that want to shorten and bones that want to be brittle. And I mean, this is just the normal, well, it's not normal. It's what people think is a normal aging process. It's not normal. What is normal is that we never stop moving. What is normal is that we never stop stretching. We never stop working out with weights. We never stop eating healthy. But the generation above us did not believe that. And I have so many friends, countless friends that are in their 60s and 70s that are like, woe is me, I can't do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, this is what it's like to age. And I'm like, no, this is not what aging is. This is what you've decided and what society has said aging is. I'm going to live to be 100 plus. My mind is going to be sharp. My body's going to be sharp. I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be healthy, because why in the world would I want to take the next however many years there are between 68 and 100 and not be? I don't want to be dependent on my children. I don't want that for them, and I don't want it for myself. And it may happen, life happens, but I will tell you that I will fight it like a warrior.
For those of you watching, if you just paid attention, Nancy, what you did, and that's, you do this, you came with this belief, but it's important for this process and we already said it. I mean, don't be afraid to break shit upstairs. There's a lot of stuff that is, when we talk about this process here, by the time you get here, at least the people that I've worked with for 14 years is, so much, and it's not, you don't need to come here and learn anything. I mean, sure, maybe like a new process or something like that, but it's, this is so much more about unlearning and questioning things and starting to formulate, how do I believe my life works and operates? And I only know if it's true based upon how it feels to me. That's the measurement. And you found you've broken things from past experiences, and you found your own way. You've pushed through like you're like a rebel of your own life in a positive, wonderful way to find your own truth. I mean, it's cliche to say, but that's what allows you to become the woman that you are. I think that's what we're all here to do in some way, is we know that we have something to become, and that's the best version of ourselves. Again, super cliche, but it sticks at you when you know that you're not that person. It just gnaws at you.
We should be living empowered. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're intended to live empowered. It's what we do. What happens is we allow life to chink away at us to a point where our power is removed. It's removed by a friend who said something to you because that dress didn't look good, or it's removed because your husband said dinner wasn't all that, or it's removed because a work partner said, I can't believe you did such a stupid thing. So we let those things chink away at our power. And what I just want to share is that it's like, see, I have this. This is what I have. I'll show you what I have. This is what I have on my, this is what I have. Because this my mom sent it to me, actually. She sent it to me years ago. But this card says everything that I need to know. And that is this. You've always had the power. You've always had the power to do this. You clicking your heels together is just the lessons that you're learning to get yourself to that empowered point. Don't let anyone take your power away from you. Don't. I don't even care if it's a spouse. And I know I've been happily married, but I have had family members that have been in, they've allowed their husbands to take their power away. And so just don't let anybody do that to you. Empower yourself. When you look in the mirror for the morning and you know what you're getting ready to do in that day, be sure you're on the top of that list. It's not selfish, it's empowerment. And you have the right, it's your birthright to be empowered.
I want to make mention, since you're on that word, because that is one you've used often, was empowerment, and a few other ones which I'd have to look. Sue, when you asked about the stepping stones, P.S. Robin said, I did Jane Fonda every day for years, laughing out loud.
Girl, I feel your pain. Her abs were killer.
When you create those stepping stones, and this is in that mini stepping stone program for you to think about, and I want you to expand upon this, and maybe this, if there's no other questions, we'll kind of wrap up here. Is when you're setting goals in a new way, you had some emotional goals, and I had asked you about who this person is that you're becoming, who you know you are, and I know that you said empowerment, and you had two other emotions or feelings. I'd have to look in my notes at what those were.
I know independence has always been a word that is very important to me. Empowerment, definitely. Yeah, I'd have to look them up too. But to me, you're living your life. I don't want to say is your best version, because we're always becoming a different version every day with everything that we learn. But live your life so that you are making choices that are strong and are meant to help you be the strongest version of yourself. Strength is a very important thing to me, because it can, again, when you get to this stage in your life, I've raised my children, my grandchildren are grown. And so when I'm at this point now where I've always taken care of myself, and I really felt last fall, I remember telling my husband, he was, trying to be my best cheerleader. And I just looked at him and I said, you are not helping. This is not helping me at all, because the way you're acting is, I'm just choosing this pain. Well, in a way I won't, he'll never see this, so I won't have to tell him he was right. But in a way he really was. And I couldn't see it though, until I walked through it for the last 10 months to realize I had to have the right tools. And I think that's extremely important to realize too. Sometimes you can choose the right thing and not have the right tools. If you don't have the right tools, you can't grow through that. It took me 10 months of tool finding to find out that what was happening really was a physiological thing with my lower back and my hip. It was physiological. But I did not need to have hip replacement or knee replacement or whatever. I had to learn how to move my body in such a way that I could reduce that inflammation. And so the tool that I was given really was my physical therapist. But if that tool hadn't come along, another would have. So you have to look for the right tools. I believe that Maya's program is my tool for weight loss. And in that weight loss, every day I feel myself becoming more empowered and more strong and more confident and better at who I am, so that then I can share that to the world, because that's ultimately what we are supposed to do, is share our successes to help those that need it. That's what our job is as a human being.
Thank you, Nancy. That's yeah, today's I wanted to make mention of the fact that when you're setting those stepping stones, that you're choosing not just the stepping stone you think you should be doing, but how it makes you feel and who you're becoming. Strength and empowerment for Nancy, and she's choosing strength and empowerment and that which feels like strength and empowerment. Because you can't get to strength and empowerment from sadness, hopelessness, depression, and despair, which is what sometimes we expect ourselves to do. And so it's funny. I think the theme for today very much is, and you are so smart and so wise, Nancy. It's really around this learning to think differently as a long-term legacy, and this being more of a duty that we have, and not a curse. What we're experiencing here collectively is not a curse. It is a call and a duty to make the world better. And when we know that this isn't about ourselves, and this change in the future, it's always easier for people to not do things for themselves, but for other people.
That's right. But when you do things for other people, you are doing them for you, because you're creating a better environment in the place in this world to live. So really you are, but sometimes it just has to go to someone else before it can reflect back on you.
Yeah. Nancy, thanks you for being here. You're amazing.
Welcome. My pleasure. Anytime.
And
Anytime at all.
thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. I know that there's a lot of new people coming into the community right now, obviously, because I'm running ads. There's no secret or surprise. You know, you'll expect nothing but openness and transparency here. And you know, this is happening all now because Neori has been around for 12 years, and we had gone deep into corporate wellness and done some really good work. Our stress programs and weight management programs were in city municipalities and school districts. And with COVID, to be honest with you, we got hit pretty hard. And I knew where I got my roots was here with people. And so I figured that was where we can go back to. And it's not really a going back, but the difference now, and we all change. I'm on my own path. And the difference now is that I know that this it's time to reach more people. So, you know, there's no funny business with the $7 and the $40. It's nothing. It's a very, very small investment, but I want it to be in more hands of more people. I think that, you know, if the weight loss industry is so big, I think the weight loss industry has a duty to end obesity. That's not happening. And so, you know, if we can be a small ripple in this bigger piece of things, then we'll do some good, knowing that we're doing good for our future generations too. So if you guys need anything, I'm always here. Reach out. Our next clarity session is going to be on negative thinking and stress. So we'll go deeper into that. And it's free to the community too. So I'll make sure I post an email about that as well. So Nancy, any last words of wisdom?
I don't think so. Just, you know, don't be afraid to really throw yourself 100% into this program. I mean, I was a weight loss coach myself for a few years. And I will tell you, this is the prime rib program. This is the program you want to invest in. This is the program that you want to really sink your teeth into, no pun intended, but this is really it, because honestly, this is your life altering program. This is it. And Maya, may I share my link?
Yeah.
I've got a private page. If you can't find the private, I'll drop it in the comments below, but I shifted from weight loss coaching to beauty coaching. And so that's what I do. And I have a private page on that. So I would love to share that with you, and I'll drop it in the link below this. So thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a community we'd like to grow.
Yeah.
And the group that Nancy made mention of as well, you'll see in the program, I said it was $25 a month. We're not meeting yet because we don't have anybody for group yet. And so I don't know, maybe when you're watching this a year from now, it'll be different. So I can't promise anything, but I'm going live to help you with the stepping stones every week in the Facebook group. So, you know, you can always reach out to me. And if you don't have Facebook, you're getting this in an email, then just email me for maya@newaria.com and I'll help you out. So yep. And then Nancy, drop your link into the comments. So it will be attached to this Facebook Live. And thank you everyone for being here Friday morning with us. We appreciate you all. And Nancy, thank you for doing this for you and for taking care of yourself.
My pleasure. Thank you, Maya. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.